Righty. Okie dokie. So I believe we're live on most streams. It looks like my Facebook account is not live, but that's okay. We'll be good. Welcome everyone to Her First Million, a YouTube show dedicated to women business owners in traditionally male-dominated fields like manufacturing, the trades, technology, attorneys, CPAs, you know. I'm Amanda Bedell, your business chaos sorter and host. Here with Her First Million, we're dedicated to providing 3 segments to transform your business trajectory. What I'm looking at there is first, it's called Love Your Numbers. This was my ultimate dismay in my first company, which I talk about all the time. So it's really important to me that I help you unravel the complexities of financial management. This isn't accounting 101. We're not learning how to read a P&L statement. I'm teaching you how you take those numbers and turn them back into action so you can get more profit in your business so that you can live and you can pay your people well. In the second segment, I call it Ask Amanda. And that's where your questions take center stage, where no question is off limits. You can slide into my DMs for privacy. You can send me an email, or you can put a comment below, and I am thrilled to hear from you and share those insightful answers back to you in hopes to help you steer your business in the right direction. And the segments that I'm most excited about, I absolutely love the interviews. It's where I get to sit down with other trailblazing women entrepreneurs who have excelled in industries traditionally dominated by men, and others who support them in really interesting ways. In these interviews, we unearth strategies, navigate through common challenges and uncommon challenges, actually, and uncover the well-kept secrets that have led to many other exceptional women to that coveted $1 million and beyond. So today, right here, right now, I am live with one of those conversations with none other than Rochelle Gotsdiner. Her story is set to inspire, her insights are set to transform, and her journey is a testament to the incredible potential that awaits inside of you. Hello, Rochelle. Great to see you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Really quick, Rochelle is the co-owner and chief executive officer of Northrich Automotive since January 2008. She's played a pivotal role in upholding the company's reputation for quality car care. First, the company was established in 1996 and has been a trusted name in Richardson, Texas, and the surrounding Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Under her leadership, the family-owned and operated business specializes in maintaining vehicle safety and reliability through routine maintenance, service, and repairs. Northrich Automotive prioritizes customer satisfaction, going the extra mile to ensure peace of mind for families and fleets alike in an industry that's often plagued with mistrust. Rochelle holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Health and Wellness. I'm going to be interested in talking about that, from the University of Oklahoma, where she developed a strong foundation for holistic well-being. Her diverse experiences in business, community service, and networking reflect her dynamic approach to life and her dedication to making a positive impact wherever she goes. So without further ado, let's dive into the heart of Her First Million and welcome Rochelle. Thank you for being here, Rochelle.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction, Amanda.
So my first question is, how did you transition from health and wellness, or the successful career? You had a corporate career before you came in medical sales, to co-owning and leading Northrich Automotive.
Just like my grandma said, everyone that has a science degree should end up in a shop, right? I left my career just because someone that my father trusted for 21 years was actually running him out of business. I was 25 and my parents didn't force me to do it. They just kind of came to us and said, we don't know what to do. We can't pay the bills. This was the business that put me through college debt free, and my parents poured everything that they had into this business, growing up. So I decided at 25, I quit my career and learned everything about the business, being in the business, not knowing anything about it at all, just doing it for my family.
Wow. Was this a business? Was it a co-owner or was it an employee?
No, it was just an employee. So before that, my parents were 50-50 owners. My mom was always involved in the back end side of it, but she has her own business as well. So a daughter of two entrepreneurs. But my parents actually immigrated from Soviet Union in 89. So when they came here, everything they had was for the American dream, which that was my dad's American dream. It was just someone that we trusted for quite some time, and took my father's dream, tried to take it away, and then just kind of gave me an opportunity to step in.
That's really cool that you got that opportunity to do that. I have my most trusted business advisor. He has a similar story of his bookkeeper. It's an employee who was doing the books. I think it was actually a controller. It was a large organization. And she said, we can't make payroll. And he had a weekend to figure out what happened. And later, once he found enough money to pay payroll, later he found that she had been embezzling. So cash flow and really understanding what's going on in your business, like talk about championing that piece where there's a big financial management component to what I do. So
there should always be checks and balances on both ends, even if someone has been with your company for so long. And at that point, my dad was actually working to expand, that we had 2 locations when I stepped in. So as he was focused so hard on trying to open the second location is when the first one was kind of being wiped out. So and in hindsight, I'm glad it happened, because had something so drastic not ever happened, I wouldn't have stepped in, and who knows what would have been to my family business.
Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like when you first stepped in? Because it was in chaos. So I want to hear more.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. It was hell. Not only did I not know anything about vehicles, but you've got the weight of your family on your shoulders, and then you got the weight of all these customers. And the reason I stepped in is because they were being mistreated. They weren't following like what our family values are. And my father says, he knew it was bad, but we didn't quite know how bad it was until, even a year or 2 into it. I would still kind of learn new things. You have a lot of people that are counting on you to continue moving forward. And the first 2-3 years that I was here, I would say was the hardest years of my life. I'm early 30s right now, so sure, I've got a lot ahead of me that's going to be harder, but it was a dark time. I had to learn a lot. I had to show up every day, not just for myself, not for my employees, but for my family. So I'm way, way glad that we're beyond past that. It will never happen again. We're only doing things better than ever before. But you have to really dig deep and remind yourself about who you are and what you are and why you're doing what you're doing to survive those times.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, taking your eye off the financials and the financials of one location over another, it just is a dangerous situation as a founder or co-owner or leader of any type of organization. So that's a good reminder for those that are listening. Thank you for that. And then I mean, I'm just thinking of you like coming from a corporate background and not knowing anything about business financials, and you're like, oh wait, what's going on?
I knew nothing. I didn't know about cars. I didn't know how to run a business. Like, I have a science and psych minor degree. So everything I learned about business was by being in the business or utilizing my resources. But it's so funny because some of the relationships my father had is how I was able to be successful. And my dad introduced me to one of our parts vendors as our new marketing person. And he even brought it up to me when I saw him a few months ago. He said, so how's your marketing career going for you? He's like, you're just marketing, right? And I'm, it's funny. It's funny to me now, but back then I don't even think my family knew the role that this would, discover for us.
You said utilizing resources back then, like you're very resourceful then when you're thinking about all of the things that are going wrong in the business at that point. You're letting go of a long-term employee, which means that with that is loss of historical data. What are some of those resources that you found most
So I
helpful at the beginning?
I actually joined an automotive shop owner coaching program. So I had
Mm-hmm.
like a business advisor that was specific to automotive shop. And that's actually the program that my father was a part of when he first started the business.
Uh-huh.
So when I stepped in, that was the first thing my parents said to me was that you're going to do this school. Okay. So I did the school and the program, the coaching. And then it was really networking. A lot of, I think in life, it's not about what you know as much as it is about who you know. So I was
Mm-hmm.
truly able to leverage my connections, networking groups to help me survive and get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And people just you can read books, but unless you are on the ground working with people or supporting your community and getting their support back, you're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Um, that's so cool because it's a real life example of some of the things that I champion a lot, which is, you can get all of the information, like you just said, you could read books, you can watch videos, but it's the person that makes it real, the implementation, the actions behind the learning that's the most important. And a lot of times you might need a person for that. And who you know, it's so true. Like you can get out of anything. I feel like I can get out of any crazy situation I put myself into anymore
Me
because
too.
of all of the people I surround myself with,
Yeah.
right?
I like a challenge, and I
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a walking Northrich billboard these days, like I am your neighborhood car girl. And I don't mind it at all, the amount of people that just talk to me about car stuff. That's great. That if I'm at the top of your mind because that connection, I'm probably going to need to utilize it at some point to help
Mhm.
me succeed, as far as your bankers, attorneys, um, marketing, swag materials. Every connection you make in this business helps you be successful.
Mhm. So let's turn it on to your industry. So there's often trust issues within the automotive industry around, do I really need this fixed? Do I not? And, you being the car girl of Northridge, how does that, how do you maintain and enhance the reputation of your company in this industry? And how does, being that female leader, how does that really help or elevate what you do?
So I think one of the first really important tasks that we had was to change our system, not just like processes, but also the repair order system. So we are
Mm.
fully digital now. So my technicians take pictures, they can take videos, we can communicate with transparency to our customers. There's nothing better than showing you why you need
Mhm.
brakes, why your engine is shaking, or where your oil leak is coming from. And we have no problem even showing a customer their vehicle up on a lift to show them why they need what they need. I
Mhm.
actually played off the fact that I knew nothing about this world before I came in. People say, "Oh, you
Mhm.
grew up in this shop." Well, I didn't. I had to
Mhm.
learn my basics to get my dad's approval to drive, but I knew nothing. So when people come in and I can feel their energy, right? I understand they're already coming in here. We call it with gold boxing gloves on. Nobody likes to spend money on car repair. But if we
Mhm.
could just show you we're humans and we're here to listen and we understand you weren't prepared to have to spend this money, let's get
Mhm.
you on a plan and let's take care of your car. Let's do your oil changes so we can help you think of this as preventative maintenance. In the long run, it's going to pay off. So I
Mm.
relate to people that you will 100% be transparent here. You will get quality and honest repairs always. My dad built this business when there was no social media because
Mhm.
he was such an honest man. We don't sugarcoat anything.
Mhm.
And that's something he's continued to instill in our entire team is we don't continue to live on our legacy and our story by taking advantage of a person just one and done. We want to
Mhm.
continue to build a relationship with them, that they continue to bring their vehicles, that their kids bring their vehicles to us, and then their kids' kids, it's a family thing. So
Mhm.
we're truly just always about trust and reputation and allowing the customers, show and tell.
So for the listeners, what I hear you saying, and this is something that I point out when I talk with people, is recurring revenue. And how do you get people to come back to you? They're on a Ferris wheel for a while. They are with you. So what you've done is you've really built this out. This is a real life case study, people. You should be paying attention of how to build, um, more times that people want to come to you. So yeah, they're continuing the relationship, and it's a family thing. How cool is that to build that in? And yeah, is that something that was kind of baked in from the beginning, or how did you build that out so that it's strong? And is there do you have like a regular schedule that you give people? Like once they're in your ecosystem, how do you bring that to
Yeah.
be authentic? Mm-hmm.
So my dad really did have a solid base, a solid customer base. And, I think more old school mentality was you want that mechanic, that rundown shop that, he's just going to shoot it to you straight and he takes care of you. You either grow up with your parents telling you this is your mechanic or you don't at all. I don't think there's an in between, right? But
Mm-hmm.
my dad was brilliant. He started the business model on taking care of a family. He said
Mm-hmm.
no family has 4 Lexuses or 4 BMWs. They have a Lexus, maybe a Toyota, then the son gets a Jeep or the daughter gets whatever car. So our business is built on trust, truly. We want to help you find a trusted resource for your vehicles. And historically, you should at least be changing your oil every six months, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the important part is nobody wants to spend money on their car unless they're truly into cars. So how do I
Mm-hmm.
continue to bring those people back or to remind them before it's an issue? With
Mm-hmm.
that, we've got our CRM. So we've got
Mm-hmm.
automated messages going out to customers, texts and emails and follow-ups with them. Hey, it's been almost 11 months since your state inspection. Let's get you scheduled. All of these key
Mm.
pieces bring people back in. But
You're like a car manager.
I am exactly.
Or
It's
you
just like
built
your
that.
dentist. It
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave your dentist, if you don't book your follow-up appointment, you're not going back in a
Mm-hmm.
year, in 6 months. They're going to be
Mm-hmm.
calling you to get you back. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing for car repair. If your
Mm-hmm.
vehicle doesn't tell you you're due for an oil change, you're not wasting your time. That's it. We just have to be in front of people's minds.
Yeah, I feel really dumb saying this out loud, but I just realized, because I never really could keep track of 3,000, 5,000 miles. I'm like, whatever. But finally, my partner said to me, just make appointments every 6 months. You never hit that anyway, because I don't use my car all that often.
See?
And all of a sudden it was like, ding, ding, ding. Like, oh, okay, twice a year. I can do that and just put it in my calendar.
Exactly.
Okay, done. But you're actually doing it for them, which I think is very valuable for those that are listening, is thinking about that system. At the heart of it is, making it where they don't have problems in the future, and that, or mitigate the problems that are coming. You can see them when they're getting this regular maintenance, and that it's all
Yeah,
from the heart. I can really feel that.
it is. Thank you. And, when I stepped in, we didn't have this transparent system, right? I picked
Mm-hmm.
up a business that was failing. So what did we have to do? We just continued to build off trust. So I was networking. I was out in the community. It's family owned business. People want to do business with family owned businesses. They really
Mm-hmm.
do. So, it's great that I have all these systems in place now and they work. You can even continue to grow them and make them more. But I just want people
Mm-hmm.
to know that, yeah, my father built the business from the ground up, and I walked in and I had walls and a roof above us, and rent was made because my parents built the business right. But I didn't have these systems and we still made it work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to have them, but you can still make it until you can afford to make all these things happen, basically.
Yeah, and there's little things. I mean, it's always better to keep a customer than to lose a customer. So both of those things, when you're thinking about that continuous relationship and how you get people to buy from you more than once, it's really important for that relationship to continue so that you can have that consistent income. So building off trust, I really love that you started there when everything else, yeah, it might not all be put together, but that you started there. That's really cool. There's one other piece, like you shared with us the transparency piece, because you've got it all on digital and you can show instead of tell. Are there any other ways of building lasting relationships with your customers that you want to let people know about?
Just community involvement. I like to do, whether we do a blood drive or a coat drive, I've partnered with different charity organizations. We do support BvB Dallas, which is an Alzheimer's fund, and we've been proud supporters of it for 10 years now. But more than that, I host an event and I'll send an email blast out to my customers and I'll say, hey, we're doing a blood drive, come by, I'll give you this discount or whatever service, or a coat drive. And I think it's just that reminder that when people come here, they don't just think they're spending money here. Like, I truly want this place to feel comfortable for people. I can't tell you how many people just sit in my waiting room and say, it's just peace and quiet. Let me read here. Great.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If that's how you feel here, then I'm doing my job. You should feel at ease. So just the community piece.
That's
and I
so
think
cool.
a lot of our people know that we're here for them more than just car stuff, just because how connected of a community Richardson has.
And what I've heard from you, briefly before we came on live for everyone, and then in your bio was this commitment to community service and philanthropic initiatives. Did I say that right? How do you balance, both your community service and philanthropic? There it is. Philanthropic initiative. Sorry, my words did not come out
That's
that
okay.
time.
It's okay.
And the automotive industry at the same time. Like, how do you do that?
Who do you want to ask? If you ask my friends, they say I'm crazy. If you ask my dad and my employees, they say I'm crazy. But it truly brings a smile to my face when I'm at work and someone says, oh, yeah, I'm here because I found you through the Alzheimer's organization. That makes my job at work fulfilled. Or when I'm out and, giving time to the community and someone says, hey, this is going on with my car. My worlds truly have collided. And it took me time to realize that, but I have a heart, and I think that comes from my parents and giving, and finding an organization to give back to that you're passionate about. I fell in love with the car business because of my family. I didn't fall in love with it because of cars, for people. So I truly think in order to be successful, you have to connect to people. So even though I get exhausted or, I find myself overworked, it's just who I am. And I wouldn't be me. We wouldn't be successful if I wasn't that way.
When people come to me asking if they should open up their own business or buy this business, I ask them if they're a little bit crazy.
You have to be.
Because you have to be. And I know I've heard this before in other podcasts and stuff that I listen to, and it's true. And sometimes you don't know it until you're in it, but you do have to be slightly crazy. And I mean like crazy in love with what you're doing. And through you found it in the people, even though the product itself isn't necessarily what your love is at first, but that people piece is so important. So that's a really great challenge to those that are listening too.
That's a good question. Then I love that answer. I love even more, how do I get my child to get into my automotive business with me? You don't force it. You have to love what you do every day. And believe me, I quit almost every single day. You can ask my mom, you can ask my dad. It was not easy at first. But
Mhm.
I was the one that put myself here. My parents didn't force me to start this right after school. And I have an older brother and a younger sister, and let
Mhm.
me just put this out there. First of all, I wouldn't have been successful if he didn't help me the first year as well. And my sister, she's in college too, but it's a whole family affair.
Mhm.
It has to be for us to share this legacy. But you have to want this bad. Just like if you want to buy a business, you have to be crazy. Suc- Success doesn't happen from normal.
It really doesn't. And I think one of my other my mentors said, laziness will steal your future. And yeah, we're not lazy as entrepreneurs or business owners. It really is like thinking about all of the things that we could be doing. I say to people like, or my partner, I'm never bored. There is literally a backlog of things.
Yeah.
Even when I go on vacation, I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, I could be doing this and this and this. And, I've got my business book that I haven't read yet, that I've been on the shelf for however many years. And it's just
Your
going.
mind is
Mhm.
constant. Yeah, nonstop. And
Mhm.
but the cool thing is that I'm with my dad now, but he's very old school and I'm new school. I'm like, I don't want to be the first one to work and the last one to work every day. I want to success to me is having the team in place to make this happen. Whereas back in his old mindset I got to work this hard. I'm like, Dad, you got to figure out how to retire, like relax soon, not work harder. So it's cool. Like
Mm.
we're keeping each other young or old and trying to balance each
Mm.
other out too.
That's really good. Oftentimes, what I say is that, if you're a successful business owner, you are a job creator, not a job doer.
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of times, especially with immigrant parents, they created it to have a job, right?
Yeah.
And it was their livelihood and it's what got you through college and all of that. But to be a truly successful business leader and business owner, it's about creating jobs so that other people in the community have a job.
And I really didn't understand the true value in that until I graduated Goldman Sachs or until I was
Mm.
in the 10 KSB program. I didn't truly realize that my job is to continue employing more staff to continue building my brand, and
Mhm.
thinking larger. Because I stepped in, here's the business, right? Let's make this work. Okay, I can make this work. Well, now I'm thinking about even more. Do I want to
Mhm.
expand? Do I want a second location? How much more staff do I have to have? Where are we looking at? Like,
Mhm.
what task can I alleviate from myself and my father to help us bring on more people to help us continue growing? It's been
Mhm.
fun learning different things that way.
Really, really fun to elevate your thinking and, yeah, to look at it from that different lens. That's so cool, Rochelle. That's how Rochelle and I know each other. We're both alumni of the 10,000 Small Businesses program through Goldman Sachs. So that's really cool. We could talk about that in a minute. Yeah, I feel like I could talk to you forever about that leadership piece and moving forward and into that next space. It's really business. I would even say it's business 3.0, not even 2.0. 101 is like getting it going and you're working in it all the time. In my business, I hit 2.2 million at a bakery business, but I was operating it all the time and it would fall apart anytime I left. So I wasn't to 2.0 yet, where I was able to get myself out of the crazy. And, a lot of that had to do with me and my mindset. So
That's
there's
so
lots of
funny.
lessons there too. But with you, can you tell me a little bit more about the various networking groups that you use and how you have your community organizations influence your approach to business or leadership for your automotive company?
Sure. So, networking, when I first stepped in, I was trying to save it. So, I did everything my dad did. And I was going to the same networking groups that he did at one time to try and save the business because it's all he knew.
Hmm.
And then I realized I'm not going to go to those networking groups anymore because I don't need to defend why we're not doing business the way we were doing it before, because I was constantly trying to cover up for how it was done when it was being ran in the ground. So I found my own connections. And it actually came a few of them recommendations from customers that would say, hey, you're pretty good at talking to people. Why don't you join my networking group? Okay, cool. Let's do it. So I had a few solid ones that we would meet every week. I'm very intentional. So I learned right off the bat that if I was going to be out of the shop, the time that I spent out of there had to bring value into it. So
Mm-hmm.
I joined an HR networking group, Dallas HR. I'm an HR member of one, you don't know what you don't know about HR. I joined
Mm-hmm.
groups like team networking. I'm a part of one for a neighborhood, Canyon Creek, that, we do a lot of business with. So every group that I joined brings value to what I'm learning or spending time in. My next step will be to join some women owned groups as well. And then every community or charity organization that we're supporting is
Mm-hmm.
something that we can stand by. I've got a close, I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's, and that's where my involvement came from BvB.
Mm-hmm.
BvB is a flag football charity organization. Women play flag, the guys coach. So what better, like it's a women-led organization and now it's a women-led shop, right? So everything I do just has purpose and value. I don't have time to waste. I don't know how, there's no nice way to say that.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's really, really smart. And I hope you put a pin in that, listeners, because that is so important that when you're out of the shop, in her sense is, she's saying shop, I'm saying bakery, or even now in my business, anything that I'm doing needs to be adding value back to my company if I'm doing something that's outside. So these networking events, like sometimes there's just like, and I'm going to point out the women owned ones. Like sometimes it's just a bunch of ladies that are sitting around like saying about, talking about what they can't do or the bad stuff that's happening, when we really want to elevate ourselves and move through, so that we can be a bigger and better company. And it sounds like you're on the right track there, like thinking about the HR networking group. That's awesome. I didn't do that. So I put a little note in my notebook here, HR networking group. That's a really good idea. So thinking of those services or those things that you're going to need as you grow, and being a part of those groups so that you can start those relationships.
And it's a part of being resourceful too.
Mm-hmm.
My networking groups are connections that I'm making. I don't expect every person that I meet at a networking group to bring their car in for an oil change.
Okay.
That's not how I make business. But if I've connected with a banker in a networking group that could, and this is a true story, helped me have that connection of a small business owner that saved us during COVID because
Mm-hmm.
she helped me get my loan through for the SBA when needed PPP. Like if I didn't have that connection with that banker because of that group, I don't know what would have been with my business. If I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
HR connections with, attorneys advice that's
Mm-hmm.
free because they want to help you succeed. I would
Mm-hmm.
have paid an attorney X amount of dollars to tell me something that didn't care about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have no shame in asking a networking group before I join them, what members are there? How many members are going to be there? What are your attendance requirements?
Mm-hmm.
If those things don't fit what I need, you don't have to join it. Not every you're
Mm-hmm.
not required to say yes to everyone. I learned that fairly
Definitely.
quickly too.
That's really smart. And it sounds like you've got guardrails around your time, that make it where you're just doing the most impactful ones. And one of the things that you said that I just want to highlight is that you're not necessarily going there for customers. You're not going there just to make sure that you fill the roster, fill the schedule. Yeah, sure, if that happens, fine. But it's really, as business owners, we need to be thinking of all of those services and all of the things that we need and start those relationships first. So that is so cool, Rochelle. Thank you for sharing that tidbit of information. You've been a lot. Do you have,
I know.
um, there's so much to talk about, isn't there? Like once you start thinking about the journey.
Oh my goodness, so much. And you just touch on it, right? You don't even really realize also like what got you to this point. It's good to look back and see how far you've came, or reminding
Mhm.
yourself that you overcame this and you got to where you are today. I think
Mhm.
that's also something we don't do enough as business owners, and it might be what kind of keeps pushing us. But being able to remind yourself why you do everything every day is really important to your success.
So important. And we spent a lot of time talking about the past and how you came into the business in its chaotic form, or how, the it's going down, the ship's going down, come and save it. But you just touched briefly on making it through the pandemic and all of, being resourceful through that. And, one of the things I thought about even while you were saying it was, I wonder how she's planning now. I ask business owners this, when we're meeting one-on-one, but how did the pandemic change your plans? You know,
It was insane. We had 2 locations at that time, actually, and I looked at my dad at one point and I said, "Don't be surprised if one day it's just me and you here." Like, you had no idea what was going on. I'm very happy to report that I was able to keep all of my staff at the time. No one ever had to take a pay cut. We truly put the family first. But that came a lot of credit for my parents to building the business up, whereas
Mhm,
they already financially took care of the rent, right? So
mhm,
rent came last. Now I had to pay it at the end, right? But there was no landlord that was going to kick us out of this building because
mm,
my parents put those foundation steps in as they were building the
mhm,
business up.
mm.
But of course, it shifted, right? And I read an interesting book the other day, and I didn't even think about this. A service advisor in an automotive shop, they are the first person that you see, or the first voice that you hear on the phone, right? They say
Mhm,
smile when you're on the phone because a customer can feel it. Well, then we
mhm,
put masks on people. And then we said, bring your car in. And now don't look at my face. And now let me sell you the work too, right? So from that, it was truly, truly showing people how much we care. Of course, we decided to try and pick up cars when we could, and we changed the service, and we did the contactless touch. But in my
mhm,
industry, connection is so important to succeed.
mhm,
And the pandemic, that year, we actually did the best that we had since I had been on board. So we just
mhm,
continued to go up, which showed me that people just, again, want to connect to people. It was scary, but
mhm,
I'm really glad we survived it. We came past it and we were able to kind of just move through it.
mhm. And I think about the planning. Usually, now I'm like, "Oh, what's your plan for shutting down for a month?" And what happens, not necessarily that a pandemic will happen again, but innovating and evolving for your target customers so that you can still serve them what they need in the moment. We need to be agile in moments like that, and innovative. So there's no reason, it's way too soon to forget about the pandemic and all of the
Yeah.
business lessons that we have from it. I feel like I could talk to you forever, Rochelle, but I know that it's probably just me. And no, I'm
No.
sure that people are having fun listening, but I'm going to move to our signature questions. One of which is, you mentioned a book, so that might come up, but what's an essential insight that our listeners should be aware of today that will help them reach their first million in revenue?
I think, like you've touched on your numbers, I didn't have any accounting background when I first stepped in that the first year. My brother was doing all of the finance. He had a
Mhm,
full-time job, but that was his role. And then when he told me he was no longer, he wanted to focus on his actual career, it just kind of fell on me. And I didn't realize the true value of learning those numbers. Again, I'm going to give credit to Goldman Sachs, but sitting down and not being afraid of those.
mhm,
Once I understood the numbers, I understood the value of each hour and each day and each employee that I bring in, and
mhm,
how either toxic or how positive an employee can be to our business. Your numbers run everything. And I
mhm,
just wish I would have been able to give myself that piece of information sooner rather than later. But it all
mhm,
happens in timing. Thankfully,
mhm,
we were able to keep it going. Now I love him. Very
mhm.
thankful to have the opportunity to understand them a lot better.
So the first things first, got to know your numbers. And I know that that's super convoluted to hear. I used to be like, what does that even mean? Because we're taught accounting 101 at SCORE, SBDC, and these different organizations that just teach us how to read our P&L. But what she said, and I'm just going to highlight it, is like knowing when I hire a person, it's going to take this amount of time for me to break even on them. When will I start seeing money on them? If they're toxic, how does that lower my productivity and my number? Like each of these are so important to know. But again, we can get inundated with all of the data and all of those numbers. So I'm sure you've got your top ones that you look at running the company now. Can you share a couple of what are those top line? I mean, not revenue, COGS,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah,
No, for me, like in day to day, I want to see how many customers' cars did we touch that day. Because, we could have 60 cars in a week, and I need to know of those 60 cars, how much work did we sell or did we not sell? How much declined work are we following up on? Are we able to schedule in the future? Why are we declining work? Are we incorrectly pricing it? Are we incorrectly explaining it? So my, a number that I've been loving the past few weeks has been our car count. And
that's awesome.
It's really important to also provide good service, right? I don't necessarily want to just serve more. I want to serve this amount, but better, and continue to grow that. You don't want to spread yourself too thin. But that's been a number one for me is car count. And then, what's our average repair order? So are we wasting a lot of time on jobs that aren't as profitable? We joke, but in my industry, we say like an oil change is a loss leader. And I'm really working to kind of change my dad's mindset on that, because it's an easy opportunity to show off who your true colors are, to build that long-term relationship with people. So, our average repair order, and then build hours, because in my industry, it's kind of like construction, where how many hours are your technicians performing on? And then from that, you can build off productivity. So if we're open from 8 to 5:30 and they're only doing less than 8 hours, what's happening? Does that fall from parts issue or misquote? Do I have a slow technician? So really just tracking all of that. And that's a few of them that I've been really liking.
Oh, those are two really good ones. So numbers of customers touched. So she's looking at our car numbers, and I love that you related it back to construction, because that's who I usually work with. I love working with women in construction. It's one of my passions. But survey the average repair order. So that too is really important, because one of the quickest ways to more cash flow is having your current customers, the people that are already coming, buy more stuff from you. Like, it's a no-brainer. That sounds really stupid to say out loud. It's not. People miss it all the time, because you're just like, oh, even restaurants. I go into a restaurant now, I scan a QR code to get the menu, I order from my phone. You're missing out on a whole bunch of upsells, cross-sells, opportunities to engage with people. And when you're when you're thinking about it that way, or if someone's ordering off of just a website, that personal touch. So thank you for sharing those two numbers. I have one more question. Unless you have something to follow up there, because those two are really good. Yeah.
I love numbers now. So yeah, you hit it.
Oh my goodness. I'm such a business nerd, so I feel like I could talk to you literally for much more time than an hour. And usually these are 35 minutes, but we're going an hour today, folks, or maybe not quite. Can you recommend any valuable resources, books, or workshops that have positively influenced your journey so far?
I'm going to talk about 10KSB. I know we briefly touched on it, but I had 3 customers tell me to join it. One was someone that I met from the networking group that helped me be successful from the beginning. And then 2 gentlemen that had successful, one was marketing and one was a construction company. And as they got to know me, they would say, you really need to do 10 KSB, 10 KSB, 10 KSB. Well, the time came and I said, I'm doing 10 KSB, and I am so thankful I did it. You are partnered with a group of successful business owners who all have their own struggles, and you learn through it. And everyone in that program will tell you that that was the most impactful piece that they've ever done in their business. It's your own MBA program, and you're going through it and you're learning. One of my favorite things that it helped me do was step out of the shop. I spent
Mhm.
all day Friday, every Friday for 13 weeks out of the office, and it gave my team the ability to hold their own. And then I came back and it was like, after a few weeks, I said, hold on, guys. I'm going to start leaving again on Fridays because all of a sudden y'all forgot how to operate without me here, But jokes aside, it truly was the best connections. You are given resource after resource, and it helped me learn these items and take them back to my dad and show him, I'm not just being a brat about X, Y, and Z. Let me show you why I think this is important. And when
Yeah.
you can provide them with facts and research, or, even for me to understand in the future, if I do want to expand, how am I going to go get a second location? How am I going to present this to the bank? Oh my goodness. I could just go on and on about Goldman Sachs, but the best
Mm.
resource, I got the award actually for most referrals to the program.
Oh, amazing.
I get to speak at their graduation this Friday. So
Yay.
I am a Goldman Sachs cheerleader all the way.
Mhm. And you went to the Dallas program, right? They've got a program down there. Okay, yeah, I was a part of the national cohort in 2016. I did the I because I'm like, my um, plaque is over here, and it might be
Um,
2017, actually. I don't remember which year. But just to highlight what she said, I mean, networking, speak of networking, it's power networking. And I've never been in a group that I've been with peers, like
yeah,
true peers who, no matter what your business is, you go through the same things when you're at a certain level. You may go through them at different times, but what you learn is that the struggles are the same. And it was a huge aha moment. Like, I was with people who had their companies for 36 years, and then one that was like 3 years old, and I was right in the middle, like 6, 7 years old. And I've been to 2 alumni events. Have you been to the alumni events yet?
I
Or
have
are
been
you
to one. Yes, yes. And I think
the
we've
one
got
in
one coming
DC?
up actually.
Yeah, the alumni event, the big one in Washington, DC, where we lobby, our Congress people.
I have not been to that one yet. Are you going to that
Okay.
one this year?
Well, I don't know if they have one this year, but there
Okay.
has, or maybe there, I don't know. But what's cool about it, I guess, what I'm trying to get at is that even this many years later, I sit down at breakfast and I don't know a single soul, but I sit down at this table and you just connect.
Yep.
It doesn't feel salesy. It doesn't feel it, but people are genuinely interested in what you do. But you all went through the same program. So there's this
Yeah.
camaraderie and it lives on, which is so mind blowing to me. But yeah, you just instantly friends, like instantly. And I have a couple clients actually that I met there the last time I went. I got to be the leader of the Portland delegation or Oregon
Oh
delegation,
wow.
and let me tell you, like, it's seriously the coolest experience. Anything else you want to share before we let people go this time?
No, I love being a woman in automotive. I love, a
Yeah.
good challenge, but I love being able to connect with people. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story. It's also a good reminder for me to continue carrying on. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yes, please do carry on because you're one of the smartest entrepreneurs I've talked to in a while. I'm so very much in awe and inspired by you. So thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm going to do a quick wrap up here. And so viewers, if you want a link to that 10KSB, I'll go ahead and put that into our description here later today. And then for those of you who are ready to make your first or next million, let me tell you, I was somebody who totally rolled my eyes at people who tell startups that they need a business plan. Sure, if you're going after investor money or you need a business loan, yes, you need the business plan. But in 2010, I wrote a business plan for a gluten-free bakery that I launched in 2012. And that plan was massive. It was well researched. It was beautiful. I would have gotten an A+ in any business class, but there was one problem. It was completely useless. I launched that bakery out of a single farmer's market booth, and I bootstrapped it to multi-seven figures with distribution along the West Coast while managing 15 employees, 3 shifts, 7 days a week. And I never looked at that plan. The strategic plan I created a strategic plan that has everything that I found helpful back then. And it has more of those numbers that Rochelle talked about. So now, after teaching that strategic plan to over 300 businesses, I've streamlined it and created a course and simplified it so that you could get it and watch the videos at any time that you want. But the most important pieces are in there that you need to surpass the $3 million mark. So I want you to get real results. I want you to have a practical approach and show you the proven success markers. And again, if you like what you hear here on Her First Million, please remember to subscribe and hit that notification button to stay in the loop on the next episode of Her First Million. Until next time, here's to your success. Bye-bye.
Thank you.